Hello, and welcome to Gatherverse News Unscripted, where we bring you humanity centered tech journalism. I'm Lisa Bernard. Today, as we do every Wednesday, we're bringing you our Pioneer Profile. This is where we take an in depth look at someone who is a leader in Web3, but who is also considering the impact technology has on humans and society. Today, we introduce you to Christopher Lafayette. Christopher is the founder of Gatherverse and Gatherverse News. Christopher is working for a more equitable culture in technology. He is an international speaker, thought leader, and an advocate for greater expansion of community in tech. That includes cross culture and inclusion considerations. He is also a leader in wellness, having just wrapped up a 2-day Wellverse Summit with renowned leaders from all over the world in the field of wellness, right here on gatherverse.org. Here is Christopher speaking to us about his vision for how tech and society should coexist ethically, and specifically, he'll share his thoughts on wellness in Web3. I'm speaking to Christopher Lafayette for Gatherverse News. Christopher is the founder of Gatherverse and Gatherverse News. He is an emergent technologist who works in AR, VR, AI, medtech, education, Web3, and the metaverse. And he is also a humanitarian who cares deeply about the impact technology and emerging technology have on people. We'll speak to him about wellness in particular in just a minute. But first, Christopher, please tell me what led you to create Gatherverse and what is its mission?
Well, first of all, thank you, Lisa. I'm certainly happy to sit and have the opportunity to express where we find ourselves today when it comes to, I think, the accelerated rise of emerging technologies. And these technologies aren't new. They've either been envisioned or have been scaling within what we call the eco-habitat for so long. You may find yourself looking at artificial intelligence, subsequent machine learning and deep learning, or you'll have acronyms such as XR, meaning extended reality, flanked by virtual and augmented reality. And over here we'll find fintech, and we'll find Web3 and DeFi, DAOs, dApps, and decentralization and centralization and NFTs. And these technologies are not only scaling, but they're at the intersection of pairing and merging together. On a amorphous scale, we don't completely know what these technologies will render out to, and we start to look at technological convergence. But expressly to your question, when I began to understand that we've gone from an ideated phase to hardware to software, the next natural progression of ideation, hardware, and software is humanity, for whom we have been ideating, building hardware and software for in the first place. And so I found it prudent to meet at the doorstep of emerging technologies such as the metaverse and artificial intelligence to say we really need to now align focus with humanity first standards in dealing with accessibility and education, equality, community development, safety, privacy, wellness, ethics, and how those narratives take precedent first and establish so that we can have a more clear and present runway so that everyone can be able to enjoy and benefit, and at the same time create a sustainable, habitable world that can go forward together when we see these technologies being consumed.
Are the major developers of emerging technology like Google, Apple, OpenAI thinking about these concerns, thinking about humanity first, or do you think they are putting profits ahead of people?
I think the big platforms and big large companies for some time have been figuring out the puzzle and the mystery towards developing good products. And their time has been consumed with that. Going back to first principles of design aesthetics and brand, and thinking about how to build and what feels right in terms of hardware, what wears right, in terms of getting it to the place where we have gone in this application evolution, if you will. You know, it's interesting that we look at the 90s, and the 90s, you know, we commonly refer to as the information age. Well, what happened when a group of technologists and people in general got hold of this information that we had readily available that we never had before, prior to? Well, innovation spawned from this information, and it led us into the bubble. And in this time of the bubble in 2000, you know, we began to build technology using really industrial age principles, but that didn't work. But then as we moved forward and headed to the Great Recession, if you will, we were met in in September of 2007. That's when the iPhone came out. And then we began to see further down the road Android, and we went into this renaissance of application development. And we began to see come to market democratized tools that were available for all different types of people to hack and make and build and code and design. And that's exactly what's happened, and it's led us to where we're at now, which is accelerated fashion and development of technology itself. And so it leads to the question, what happens when the technology becomes more advanced than the technologist? It's
Right. And that gets us to wellness.
Sure.
And the impact of all of this tech, and especially now emerging tech, on people. What is being threatened? What are you concerned about when it comes to wellness with people?
And that's a great question, Lisa, that with the accelerant development in fashion and introduction to these emerging technologies to market that are moving at such a rapid clip, we also know that that leads to disruption. You know, here in Silicon Valley, we often look at disruption that good technology is superseded by great technology, and great technology is superseded by even better technology, is what we commonly refer to disrupt. But the greatest disruptor contemporary of our time, in some fashion, has been COVID-19. We've become more virtual in the past 39 months than we had the past 39 years. And so we've looked at product delivery teams working from their living rooms, and remote distributed workforces are still on a hybrid phase position. And some people now, in tens of thousands of jobs, are being dismissed. And these aren't necessarily fringe positions that we're looking at. We're looking at the workforce that are operating and building and developing technologies that are so relevant to what's being consumed from public, private sector, and general consumers. And what do they do once they are dismissed? It's not an easy fix just to go back to school and learn a new trade, because there's no trade to learn. And so we start to think about occupational wellness, we start thinking about financial wellness, and when we look at what we're looking at with the avid rise here of artificial intelligence and generative pre-trained transformers and large language foundational models being introduced to society as they are, which in a lot of ways I am a fan of, but we still have to be mindful that through this disruption, there is going to be large job displacement. And I'm not prepared to officially say that AI is completely going to take someone's job, but I do believe that AI is not going to replace you, but someone that knows how to use AI will. And so there's a learning phase that needs to come with this, and it creates great pressure ecologically within the human ecosystem of people that develop and work.
And let's talk about wellness in terms of mental wellness as well as physical wellness, because there is concern for that, certainly. What regulations or laws or systems do you think we should have in place to think ahead as technologies emerge to consider wellness? And is there a realistic pathway to have some of these producers, creators, stick to a set of standards?
Sure. I think if we're capable of being able to hack the human brain and create neural networks that's patterned after the brain, not to be more advanced in the human brain, but patterned after that, if we're able to see some of the innovations that we've seen of late, then I believe that we're able and capable to hack wellness itself. I do not believe that there are good, well-met standards that are delivered and deliverable towards the applications that we use today, except for the practitioners that we know of and the people that are practicing, whether it's Eastern, Western, or other different types of modalities of learning wellness practices. I do believe that we're heading into a place where, being that communication is in such an accelerant fashion, that we will discover more ways on how to approach wellness and then develop based on that. But I think in order to do that, because this lends to a good question, that the more information that we know and understand about the human psyche and the human condition when it comes to mental wellness and mental illness, because it's a rampant plague that not only plagues here in the United States, but all throughout the world. It's transcontinental. The more human intelligentsia that we have to be able to better understand what we're confronted with, the more we're able to build and innovate based on this information, and to be able to equip those that are able and capable and really have a desire to be able to tackle and confront this plague of the wellness.
And also there are many opportunities, I'm sure you would agree, with virtual reality, augmented reality, with medicine, with treatments. Speak about some of the wonderful developments in healthcare.
Sure. We're at a time where you can have a surgeon that's sitting in Costa Rica, where she can be, through telepresence, teleport to Lucille Packard's hospital in Stanford and perform an operation from thousands of miles away, perhaps operating a Da Vinci robot machine with gestural interface and point cloud precision. And when we think about the breakthrough technologies that we're looking at when it comes to virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality, we're using virtual reality, and practitioners are using virtual reality as an empathy engine. To have not just to look at a patient, to better understand what it is that he or she may be experiencing with whatever type of disease or ailment that they find themselves with. We're looking at pain reduction therapy treatment, that in some studies we're percent reduction in pain in burn victims when it comes to using augmented and virtual reality as a supplement as opposed to using traditional medicines. And so when we look at these breakthroughs, whether it's on the surgical theater, digital cadaver development training, situational awareness, the capability with immersive technologies when it comes to wellness and advancing the training for our practitioners of the world is now becoming, in some places and spaces, mandated and necessary for hospitals, for those that are coming in that are whether general practitioners or specialists.
There seems like such an urgency and new tech being released every day, this urgency to protect children, to ensure mental health is considered, to ensure interactions are safe. Is it possible to get ahead of it?
I feel in some ways it is, if we have a better understanding of the technology that's at hand. And this what leads back to the question, what happens when the technology becomes more advanced than technologists? It's because technology has an incredible and clever way of evolving and adapting. It moves in increments, shifts, and leaps. We take an increment, maybe it's an iOS update. an iPhone or an Android update, and we think about a shift, maybe it's a new hardware or software that's come out, or a new desktop, laptop, a tablet, perhaps even HMD, which we call a head-mounted display that you wear on your head when you're using devices like mixed reality and virtual reality, Lisa. But then we have a leap, and those don't come too often. The internet, the cloud, Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, the metaverse, artificial intelligence, and not just simple AI, but subsequent the possibility that we may now be looking at potentially AGI, artificial general intelligence. Some believe that superintelligence is far away, and I too believe that. But we're seeing these things come into the ecosystem of consumption. And so might we be able to use these tools as fast as they are coming out? We need to find a way to be able to fast, and even more fast, to be able to commandeer this type of technology so it doesn't get ahead of us. But if we are able to catch up to what some in the sports industry say, I need to catch up to game speed, then we're able to wield and control these tools to be able to help service humankind. And that's why we say our focal point is always humanity first when we are developing and innovating and releasing into the world.
It's the right focus. Thank you. Thank you so much, Christopher, for talking with us today. That again was Christopher Lafayette, the founder of Gatherverse. And there are many Gatherverse summits scheduled in the months ahead. Topics include ethics, immersive intelligence, fashion, art, athletics, and virtual worlds. Go to gatherverse.org to learn more. And while you're there, drop us a comment. If there's a story you'd like us to explore for Gatherverse News, please let us know. We'd like to build our reporting based on what you'd like to see. Tomorrow, I will be here again, and joining me will be Jessica Murray. She is the CEO and co founder of Wicked Saints Studio. Jessica is an international peace builder turned game designer. She trained young people all over the world in storytelling and activism. She believes the best way to empower an entire generation is through XR and gameplay. Please join me here tomorrow at the same time for my interview with Jessica Murray. And that's it for today. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.